The text message arrived at 11:47 p.m. on a Friday night. One photo. 5 words that would change everything: see what you could have had. I stared at my phone, my CEO's name glowing above the message, my heart pounding as I took in the image of him on a yacht, champagne in hand, arm around a woman who wasn't his wife. The woman who got the promotion I'd been promised. If you've ever had that moment where your entire career flashes before your eyes, hit that like button now and subscribe to see how this corporate nightmare unfolded, and how my 3-word reply cost me everything but gave me something far more valuable in return. I'm Eliza Chen, and 6 months ago, I was the rising star at Meridian Technologies. Now I'm recording this from my new office, but not the corner office I once dreamed of. The journey between these 2 points is what I'm sharing today, and trust me, it's worth staying until the end. When I first joined Meridian 5 years ago, it was a mid-sized tech company with big ambitions. I was 27, armed with an MBA and enough student debt to make me work like my life depended on it, because financially, it did. Our CEO, James Whitman, was the kind of charismatic leader who made everyone feel special. He had a way of looking at you during meetings like you were the only person in the room with something valuable to say. Eliza has the Midas touch, he'd tell the board when one of my marketing campaigns exceeded projections. We need to keep an eye on this one. His praise felt like oxygen, and I breathed it in deeply, never questioning the subtle ways his hand would linger on my shoulder or how our one-on-one meetings always seemed to run late. My direct supervisor, Vanessa, warned me once. We were grabbing coffee when she said, "Be careful with James. He likes to collect bright young things, build them up, and then." She didn't finish the sentence, just sipped her latte and changed the subject. I dismissed her concern as jealousy. After all, I was being recognized for my work, not my appearance or willingness to laugh at his jokes. The promotion to marketing director had been all but promised to me. I'd been doing the work for months already, staying late, taking on the overflow from the previous director who'd left for a competitor. James had called me into his office on a Tuesday afternoon, perching on the edge of his desk instead of sitting behind it. "You know, Eliza, I see myself in you. That hunger, that drive." His eyes had lingered on my face. "The board meeting is next Friday. I think you'll be very pleased with the announcement we'll be making." I spent the next 10 days in a state of controlled excitement, updating my LinkedIn profile in draft mode, mentally rearranging my budget to account for the salary increase. I even called my parents, something I rarely did with good news until it was certain. "I think it's finally happening, Mom," I said. "All those late nights are paying off." The board meeting came and went. The announcement was made: Cassandra Reynolds would be joining Meridian Technologies as the new marketing director, bringing her fresh perspective and industry connections to the role. Cassandra, who I later learned had met James at a conference in Miami 3 months earlier. Cassandra, whose qualifications looked remarkably similar to mine on paper, except for one glaring difference: she had been willing to meet James for working dinners that extended into the early morning hours. I maintained my professionalism. Welcomed her to the team. Handed over my projects with detailed notes and offered my support during the transition. All while a cold, hard knot formed in my stomach, growing denser with each passing day. "These things happen in business," my friend Marcus told me over drinks that weekend. "It's not personal." But it was personal. I knew it, and somewhere deep down, James knew it too. Our interactions became strained. He stopped dropping by my desk. My ideas in meetings were suddenly not quite aligned with our direction or something to consider for next quarter. I was being frozen out, but too stubborn and, honestly, too financially strapped to walk away without another job lined up. For 2 months, I applied for positions elsewhere while maintaining a perfect facade at work. I smiled through meetings where Cassandra presented my ideas as her own. I nodded politely when James praised her innovative thinking. I swallowed my pride when my year-end bonus was noticeably smaller than expected, with a vague explanation about company performance metrics. Then came the company retreat to Lake Tahoe. 3 days of team-building exercises, strategy sessions, and forced fun. I almost didn't go, but Marcus, who worked in product development, convinced me it would look worse to skip it. Besides, he said, networking with the other department heads might open some internal doors. The retreat was exactly as painful as I'd anticipated. James and Cassandra were inseparable, huddled together during breaks, laughing over private jokes. I threw myself into the activities, determined to make the most of the networking opportunities. By the final night, I had made connections with leaders from 3 different departments, all of whom seemed impressed by my insights and hinted at potential openings on their teams. The closing dinner was held at an upscale restaurant overlooking the lake. I wore the one cocktail dress I'd packed, a simple black sheath that had seen me through countless corporate events. I was seated at a table with Marcus and some colleagues from sales, far from the head table where James held court with the executive team and, of course, Cassandra. "You're better than this, Eliza," Marcus said quietly as we watched James refill Cassandra's wine glass for the 3rd time. "You know that, right?" I nodded, but the truth was, I didn't know that anymore. I had begun to question everything, my abilities, my judgment, my worth. That's what gaslighting does to you, though I wouldn't recognize it as such until much later. The dinner dragged on, speeches were made, achievements celebrated. I excused myself early, claiming a headache, and retreated to my room. I changed into sweatpants and a t-shirt, pulled my hair into a messy bun, and was just about to wash off my makeup when my phone pinged. A message from James. Unusual, especially at 11:47 p.m. I opened it without thinking and there it was, the photo that would ultimately end my time at Meridian and begin something new. James and Cassandra on what appeared to be a luxury yacht. His arm around her waist, both holding champagne flutes, the sunset casting a golden glow over them. They looked like an advertisement for success, beautiful, wealthy, carefree. And beneath it, those 5 words, "See what you could have had." I stared at the message for a full minute, my mind racing. It was clearly meant for someone else, his wife? Another woman? It didn't matter. What mattered was that in his champagne-addled state, he had revealed the truth I had been denying for months. My fingers moved before my brain could catch up. 3 words, sent without hesitation, "I deserve better." I put the phone down and went to wash my face, a strange calm settling over me. When I returned, there were 3 missed calls from James and a series of messages. "Eliza, that wasn't meant for you. Please disregard. We need to talk about this in person. This is a serious breach of privacy." The last one made me laugh out loud. A breach of privacy? He had sent me an inappropriate photo with a caption that all but confirmed he made professional decisions based on personal interests, and I was the one breaching privacy. I didn't respond. Instead, I took a screenshot of the exchange, emailed it to my personal account, and then tried to sleep. I managed maybe 3 hours before my alarm went off, signaling it was time to board the company bus back to the city. James wasn't on the bus. Neither was Cassandra. The ride back was quiet, most people nursing hangovers or catching up on sleep. I used the time to update my resume and send out applications to 3 more companies. Monday morning arrived with a summons to HR. I walked in knowing exactly what was coming but determined to hold my head high. James was there, along with Patricia from HR and Thomas, the company's legal counsel. "Eliza, we need to discuss an incident from the retreat," Patricia began, her voice professionally neutral. "You mean the inappropriate photo my CEO sent me late at night with a suggestive caption?" I asked, equally neutral. James cleared his throat. "There's been a misunderstanding. That message was clearly not intended for you, and your response was insubordinate and disrespectful." I looked him directly in the eyes. My response was honest. "I do deserve better than to be passed over for promotions in favor of people you're personally involved with." The room went silent. Thomas shifted uncomfortably in his seat. That's a serious allegation, Patricia said finally. And one without evidence. I nodded. You're right. It's my word against his. Just like it would be Vanessa's word, or Stephanie's from accounting, or any of the other women who've left this company after similar misunderstandings. James's face flushed. This is absurd. Patricia, I don't have to sit here and listen to this. No, you don't, I agreed. And I don't have to continue working for a company that values loyalty to its CEO over integrity in its practices. I quit. I stood up, smoothed down my skirt, and walked to the door. Before leaving, I turned back. For the record, I've already spoken with an employment attorney. They found the screenshot very interesting. I hadn't actually contacted an attorney, but the panic that flashed across Thomas's face was worth the bluff. I walked out of the HR office, past my desk where I collected only my plant and a framed photo of my parents, and out of the building I had once been so proud to enter. The next few weeks were a blur of job applications, interviews, and soul-searching. I dipped into my emergency savings to cover rent and bills. I questioned my decision daily, especially when rejection emails arrived or when recruiters ghosted me after initial conversations. Had I overreacted? Should I have played the game differently? Then, exactly 1 month after I quit, I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. Is this Eliza Chen? A woman's voice asked. Yes, speaking. My name is Rebecca Torres. I'm the founder of Empowered Workplace Consulting. Your former colleague Marcus suggested I reach out to you. Marcus had left Meridian 2 weeks after I did, citing ethical concerns in his exit interview. We'd stayed in touch, meeting for coffee and moral support during our respective job searches. Marcus mentioned your experience at Meridian, Rebecca continued. I'd like to meet and discuss a potential opportunity, if you're interested. The opportunity, as it turned out, was to join Rebecca's growing consultancy that specialized in helping companies create healthier workplace cultures and address issues like harassment and discrimination. My experience, both the marketing expertise and my first-hand encounter with toxic leadership, made me an ideal candidate for their team. We don't just help companies avoid lawsuits, Rebecca explained during we saw each other outside of tense meetings. The strain began to show, not just on their relationship but on Mark's ability to be there for Lily. One night, after missing her bedtime for the 5th time that week, he arrived home to find Sophia sitting at his kitchen table. "What are you doing here?" he asked, dropping his briefcase by the door. "I thought you were in emergency meetings until midnight." "I was," she said, pushing a cup of tea toward him. "But then I realized something important." "What's that?" "That I'm in danger of becoming exactly what I promised myself I never would, someone who puts work above everything else." She looked tired, vulnerable in a way he rarely saw. "I watched my father work himself to exhaustion for years. He gave me everything, but at such cost to himself. I don't want that for you, or for Lily." Mark sat down across from her. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I love you, Mark Wilson. You and Lily. And no company crisis is worth sacrificing what we're building together." It was the first time she'd said those words, "I love you," and they hit Mark with the force of a revelation. This brilliant, powerful woman loved him, flaws and complications and all. "I love you too," he said, reaching for her hand. "But I don't want you to have to choose between your company and us." Sophia squeezed his fingers. "That's just it, I don't have to choose. We can find a better way, together." And they did. The crisis passed, as crises do. Horizon Innovations emerged stronger, with a revolutionary new approach to sustainable energy that left their competitors scrambling to catch up. But more importantly, Sophia and Mark found a balance that worked for them, one that prioritized family without sacrificing ambition. A year after that first encounter by the elevators, Mark stood in his apartment, adjusting his tie in the mirror. Tonight was Sophia's birthday, and he had planned a special dinner at her favorite restaurant. In his pocket was a small velvet box containing a ring that had taken him months to save for, even with his director's salary. "Daddy, you're doing it wrong," Lily said, watching him struggle with the tie knot. At 6 years old, she had appointed herself the family fashion expert. "Am I?" Mark smiled down at his daughter. "Maybe we should wait for Sophia. She's better at this than I am." As if on cue, the door opened, and Sophia walked in, using the key Mark had given her months ago. She was dressed casually in jeans and a sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders, so different from the intimidating CEO he'd first met, yet somehow even more beautiful. "Are my two favorite people ready to go?" she asked, dropping her bag and coming over to kiss Lily on the top of her head. "Daddy can't tie his tie," Lily reported solemnly. Sophia laughed. "Some things never change." She stepped in front of Mark, her fingers working deftly at his collar, just as they had that first day. "There. Perfect." Mark caught her hands before she could step away. "Do you ever think about that day we met? When you fixed my tie in the hallway? Only every time I see you fumbling with one," she teased. "You whispered something to me," he reminded her. "About what would happen if I kept staring at your lips." Sophia's eyes softened with memory. "I did, didn't I? Very unprofessional of me." "I'm glad you were unprofessional." Mark pulled her closer. "Because you were right." "About what?" "I fell for you. Completely and irrevocably." Later that night, after Lily had been tucked into bed at Sophia's penthouse apartment, which had gradually become their second home, after Sophia had said yes to the ring and the future it represented, they stood together on her balcony overlooking the city. "You know," Sophia said, her head resting against Mark's shoulder, "most people still think I'm this ruthless businesswoman who never lets emotion cloud her judgment. Aren't you?" Mark teased, kissing her temple. "I was," she admitted. "Or at least, I thought that's who I needed to be to succeed. But you and Lily taught me something important." "What's that?" "That true strength isn't about shutting people out or compartmentalizing your life. It's about having the courage to let people in, to be vulnerable, to build something that matters beyond quarterly reports and stock prices." Mark turned her to face him, his hands gentle on her waist. "For a ruthless businesswoman, you say some pretty romantic things." "Only to you," she whispered. "And only because you keep looking at me like that." "Like what?" "Like I'm more than the CEO. Like I'm just Sophia." Mark smiled, leaning down to kiss her. "You've never been just anything. And that's exactly why I love you." As their lips met, with the city lights twinkling below and the future stretching bright before them, Mark thought about how a crooked tie and a chance encounter had changed everything. How sometimes, the most unexpected beginnings led to the most beautiful journeys. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more tales of unexpected love and second chances. Remember that sometimes, the most meaningful connections happen when we least expect them, and that opening your heart, even when it's scary, can lead to the greatest happiness of all. In the years that followed, Mark and Sophia built a life together that neither could have imagined that first day by the elevators. Their wedding was an intimate affair, held in the botanical gardens where Lily could run freely among the flowers, serving as both flower girl and self-appointed ring security for her father and new stepmother. Horizon Innovations continued to thrive under Sophia's leadership, but with a new corporate culture that valued work-life balance and family commitments. The Ice Queen reputation melted away as Sophia implemented progressive policies for working parents, including an on-site childcare center that became a model for other companies in the industry. Mark's career flourished as well. His innovative approach to sustainable product development earned him recognition beyond Horizon, and he was eventually promoted to Chief Innovation Officer. He made sure to mentor other single parents in the company, showing them that ambition and family devotion weren't mutually exclusive. Lily grew from a curious 5-year-old into a confident teenager with her father's compassion and Sophia's determination. Her asthma improved with age and better medical care, though she never forgot the nights when her father had sat beside her bed, counting her breaths and telling her stories until the tightness in her chest eased. "You know what I remember most about when you and Mom first got together?" Lily asked Sophia one evening as they prepared dinner together, now a weekly tradition in their household. Sophia looked up from the vegetables she was chopping. "What's that?" "The way Dad looked at you when he thought I wasn't watching. Like you were this amazing puzzle he couldn't believe he got to solve." Sophia smiled, warmth spreading through her chest. "He still looks at me that way sometimes." "I know," Lily said with the wisdom of her 15 years. "That's how I want someone to look at me someday." "You deserve nothing less," Sophia told her, reaching out to tuck a strand of hair behind Lily's ear, a gesture that had become second nature over the years. Not everything was smooth sailing, of course. They weathered storms together, Sophia's father passing away after a brief illness, a recession that threatened Horizon's stability, Lily's rebellious phase in middle school. There were arguments and misunderstandings, nights spent in separate rooms cooling off, mornings of quiet reconciliation over coffee. But through it all, they remembered the foundation they had built: trust, honesty, and the courage to be vulnerable with each other. On their 5th wedding anniversary, Mark surprised Sophia by taking her back to the 42nd floor of the Horizon building after hours. The offices were empty, the hallways quiet, but he led her straight to the spot where they had first met. "What are we doing here?" Sophia asked, laughing as Mark positioned her by the elevators. "Recreating a moment," he said, loosening his tie deliberately until it hung crooked around his neck. "I believe you have a job to do, Ms. Chen." Sophia's eyes softened with recognition. She stepped forward, her fingers working at his collar just as they had years before. "You're incorrigible, you know that. And yet you married me anyway." When she finished fixing his tie, she didn't step back. Instead, she leaned in close, her lips near his ear. "If you keep looking at me like that after all these years, I might just stay in love with you forever." Mark wrapped his arms around her waist. "That was my plan all along." As they stood there, holding each other in the place where their story began, both reflected on the journey that had brought them together, a journey of second chances and unexpected love, of building a family from broken pieces and finding strength in vulnerability. Lily was waiting for them at home, probably engrossed in her science project or texting friends, secure in the knowledge that her family, unconventional as it might be, was built on a foundation that wouldn't crumble. Later that night, as Sophia lay with her head on Mark's chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat, she thought about all the decisions that had led her to this moment. The company she had built, the risks she had taken, the barriers she had broken through as a woman in a male-dominated industry. None of those accomplishments compared to the simple joy of being here, loved and loving in return. "What are you thinking about?" Mark asked, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on her shoulder. "About how sometimes the best business decisions have nothing to do with business at all," she replied. He chuckled, the sound rumbling under her ear. "Like hiring a chronically late single dad with a crooked tie?" "Exactly like that." She propped herself up to look at him, taking in the face that had become as familiar to her as her own. There were more lines around his eyes now, a touch of gray at his temples, but his gaze still held the same warmth that had drawn her in that first day. "It was the best return on investment I've ever made." "Always the CEO," he teased, pulling her down for a kiss. "Not always," she whispered against his lips. "Sometimes I'm just a woman who fell in love because a handsome man couldn't stop staring at my lips." And as their laughter mingled in the darkness, Sophia thought about all the young women watching her career, looking to her as a role model. She hoped they understood the lesson it had taken her so long to learn, that true success wasn't measured in profit margins or market share, but in the courage to recognize what truly mattered and the strength to reach for it with both hands. Mark Wilson had taught her that. Lily had reinforced it. And every day, in 1,000 small ways, they reminded each other that sometimes the most unexpected beginnings led to the most beautiful journeys of all. If this story touched your heart and reminded you of the power of second chances and unexpected love, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Life's most precious moments often come when we least expect them, and sometimes, all it takes is the courage to fix someone's tie, or to let them fix yours, to change the course of your entire life. Remember that behind every success story, every achievement, and every milestone, there are people who make the journey worthwhile. And sometimes, finding those people means taking a chance on love, even when, especially when, it comes in the most unexpected package.